What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another Vermintide tutorial and/or guide amplified, making Warhammer come to life. I am your host, the Party Knife. Yeah, I know, I nailed that intro. What's up, guys, and welcome. Today we're gonna talk about custom user interfaces in Warhammer Vermintide. And the reason we're doing that is quite simple. The single most common request I've gotten from you guys in the comment section recently has been regarding my UI settings, what it's called, who made it, and where to get it. Which honestly warms my heart, because I literally spent 10 hours, no joke, 10 hours trying to craft a setup that I thought was different, unique, practical, aesthetically pleasing, and of course competitive. But rather than just spending 30 seconds showcasing how to import my basic settings, I thought I'd do as I always do, and guide the shit out of it. Because, you know, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Plus, while I was at it anyways, I thought I might as well show you guys a couple of other mods that I use on top of my UI tweaks to really take it to the next level. Now, I'm gonna put the full 2-minute step-by-step install guide for the different mods at the end of the video, and instead start off by walking you guys through my own setup, show you how to import my settings, and showcase a couple of the more drastic and easy to adjust settings, so those of you that wish to do so can use it as a template from which to further customize and tweak it to your own preferences. But anyways, let's get started.
Woo! Yay!
Now, the first thing you want to be aware of, compared to the default user interface, is that the two buttons representing Equip Melee and Equip Ranged that are usually placed next to your inventory have both been removed, as neither of them really serve a purpose once you've played the game for more than a couple of hours, which also allows your inventory to take up less space. Now, on the left side of the inventory slot you can see the number 1, which is the amount of shots you have left in your current clip, while the number 23 on the right side represents the amount of shots you currently have left to further reload your weapon with. Now, on top of the inventory slot, you can see all of your non-prioritized buffs, on top of which your HP pool is shown as a precise numerical value, which also showcase the exact amount of temp HP you have, on top of which the icon which indicates the availability of your ulti, the flaming blue skull, will appear whenever it's off cooldown. Whenever it isn't, you can always find your exact cooldown displayed as a numerical value displayed on top of your centermost stamina. Now, one of, if not the most important of all the features in this custom UI guide is the ability to select, customize, and distinguish between all of your priority buffs. Now, this all takes place in this little area I've marked with a red square. Now, preferably you want your peripheral vision to be able to interpret the current status, stack count, and time remaining on these important buffs, and preferably without your eyes having to wander too far away from your crosshairs. Now, with a bit of practice and experience, your subconscious should eventually develop an automatic and intuitive sense, or a feeling, if you will, for lack of a better term, which lets you know exactly how long you have left on that concentration pot without you even really having to think about it. Now, by default, these menus should only appear in the keep, but whenever I click enter and open the chat, the UI tweaks presets and a buff manager should appear. Now, after selecting your screen's current resolution and clicking current, you can see a bunch of different presets made by different people, all of which have been saved and uploaded, and any saved preset will automatically be put in the top. But in order to see all of the presets, you're gonna have to use this command /ut_preset_page space and then the number representing the page you wanna go to. And as you can see here, we're confronted with a list of different setups, although everything above the party knife is still just my own locally saved setups, and thus they remain unchanged even when we switch page. Now, if you want to find my uploaded setup, you're gonna have to go to page 11, which is the last page that has any setups. And you should see one towards the bottom called the party knife space 2. Now, if you were already using UI tweaks before watching this video, I would suggest making sure you save your current setup before clicking to ensure that you still have your familiar settings to revert back to in case these settings aren't for you. But go ahead and click the party knife 2 or whichever other preset you might prefer. And if it doesn't look exactly like mine yet, don't worry about it. The first thing you want to do is type in this command /ut_save_preset and then just give it a name, like just something simple. It doesn't really matter. But just in case you did screw it up, then yes, there is also a /UI/preset/delete in case you want to rename it or something. Now, once you're finished saving the preset, you no longer have to worry about screwing up your settings, because you have a local save of my template and can always just click enter open the UI tweaks menu, and all the way in the top there should be one with whatever name you gave it. And just in case you can't see it, just restart the session, go into the main menu and click play game again, and then it should appear. As you can see here, it's the one I named UI, and should you wish to remove it, simply write /ut_presets_delete space and then the name of the preset. Now once you're ready to move on, you should click escape, open the mod menu settings, and either scroll through or search for numeric UI. Now once you find it, you want to click it and open the subcategories, which should look something like this. And just make sure that everything is ticked and everything is on both own and team and detailed. Now assuming you're running a 1080 by 1920 screen, it should now look almost identical to mine. Now if the UI tweaks preset menus are bothering you, you can always just disable them here, and that way they're only going to show up in the keep. As you can see, it's no longer appearing whenever I'm opening the chat window. If you wish to have your remaining ammunition illustrated with a bar, just like the one you can see underneath your team's HP and career bar, although I added that one mostly for aesthetic reasons, allowing Sienna to showcase her overcharge bar without making the whole thing asymmetric. Depending on whether you prefer your UI to be pretty or competitive, or a little bit of both, you can also play around with the player icons by removing the frame or changing the icons, but unless you really care a lot, there's really no need to start meddling with these things. I guarantee you I have been through every single setting more than once, and there are a lot of settings, and really most of them only offer minor changes. Basically what I'm trying to say, if you're gonna start meddling with this, prepare to spend at least an hour, or prepare to give up after 15 minutes and be like, okay, screw this shit, I'm just gonna use a preset. But last thing I want to showcase you on numeric UI before we move on to something slightly less boring and quite a lot more impactful is the option to add a set of additional custom buffs, each of which track a different metric, such as damage over time in the last 60 seconds, or you can track the specific amount of ammunition you are generating, or perhaps you want to know specifically how much damage you have taken over the course of the fight. Anyways, all of these are possible. Now it can be extremely useful for things like deciding between scrounger or conservative shooter. Is there even a difference? Is the difference minuscule? You might feel one of them is slightly better, but you really don't know because you're never really gonna notice over the course of an entire game. But here it actually gives you a data point, so you know for a fact that you generated 57 ammo this game and you generated 67 last game. And even though that in of itself doesn't necessarily infer which is the best, at the very least you're making a decision on the basis of an actual data point. Now up next we have crosshair customization. Now crosshair customization is so much more than just, well, crosshair customization. I mean, not only is crosshair customization the most customizable crosshair customization customizer, but try saying that 3 times fast. No, but it's not so much about the actual customization of your crosshair. Sure, it's nice to be able to change the size, it's nice that you can change the shape and so on, but really the game changer here is the feedback you can receive on every shot, every attack, right in the middle of your screen, letting you know, did I hit the target? Did I crit the target? Did I headshot the target? Did I critical headshot the target? Now, you'd be forgiven for starting off by thinking that this seems like somewhat of a banality. Like, what's the big deal? And admittedly, the usefulness of this trait probably goes up exponentially with the difficulty you're playing on, but I can't count the number of times I've had a hackbane shortbow in my hand and shot at a stormweaver in the distance, and honestly I would have literally no idea if I hit him. I didn't know, should I shoot 4 times, should I shoot 5 times? Is he even going to die now that he teleported? But hey, my crosshair turned red twice, and I know now for a fact that he's going to die, and I can safely jump into the tornado he was about to spawn, right until you realize there were 2 of them, and it was the wrong tornado. The amount of times I've died falling for that. But anyways, you get the idea. Useful, instantaneous, color-coded, fully customizable feedback that doesn't even take up UI space. Like, what more do you want? Well, now that you ask, a full-sized horde of loot rat spawns, 67 Emperor Vaults, an inflatable Rasknit balloon, a lock of Barton's beard, enough skills to dual-wield flails, and an anatomically accurate poster of Sigmar. Oh yeah, and keep in mind that all of this also works for your melee crosshair.
Last but not least, we have Neuter Ult Effects. Now, this one is pretty simple, easy to understand. Basically, what it does is it allows you to customize and remove all of the visual and audible impairments that can trigger from things like using your career ability, getting healed, certain buffs, being low HP, getting knocked over. In other words, quite a long list of scenarios where the game basically robs you of your color vision, making it significantly harder to distinguish between enemy minions, and let alone a special in the midst of a horde. But then of course, as icing on the cake, let's simultaneously distort all of your sound inputs just to make you feel extra confused while you're infiltrating. I mean, you get the point, and this is the case for many ultis, as well as all of the potions, strength, speed, and Kong Pot. And personally, I recall starting out by just removing the visual input and keeping the sound input, and once I got used to that, I then also removed the sound input, because really at the end of the day you want to use your priority buff bar, as that's always going to be both the most optimal and the most practical, whilst avoiding being bothered by your own freaking ulti. Because, well, I don't even know, I mean, I guess it's for cinematic effect, I assume, which I would say makes sense in some of the cases, but in other cases, like with the Shade ulti, it really just seems like an annoying hindrance that's there for absolutely no reason. Ah, good old fat shark logic. Also, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Or I mean, it probably wasn't that enjoyable, but if you found it useful anyways, you get what I mean. Ah, nothing like a good explosion to calm the moment. Let's just have a few more. I mean, to be fair, there was a lot of information in this video. And admittedly, it probably wasn't the most interesting video I've done ever, if I have to say so myself. But hopefully it answered all of your user interface questions. And if not, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. Last one, I promise. There's something beautiful about the virtual breaking of molecular bonds into beautiful bursts of heat, light, and kinetic energy. Especially when said kinetic energy is going right into the face of fucking Budvar. What's wrong with you? Did someone sneeze in your general direction? Budvar, there's something I've always been meaning to ask you. Is it true that you are mentally retarded? Now you're really being insensitive to people with disabilities, man.
First things first, you want to open your Steam, and if you're not already logged in, you want to do that. Then you want to go to your library and find Warhammer Vermintide in your list of games and click it. Once you clicked it, you want to find the tab called Workshop on the right side of the screen and click it, which should bring you to a screen that looks something like this. Now we're simply going to take the mods in order, one at a time, and search for them. So the first one you want is the Vermintide mod framework, but you can just search for mod framework. Then you click the little icon here and you get a little tick, and then we're ready to search for the next one, which is the Penlight Lua libraries. But you can just search for Penlight. And as you can see here, I already have it, so I'm not going to click it, but you just click the same icon until you get the confirmation, and then we're ready to search for the next one, which is simple UI. And tick that as well, make sure you get the right one and not the beta. And now all of the requirement mods should be in order. So proceed to search for UI tweaks, which is the mod that's going to allow you to import the settings that I've uploaded. Once you're done, go back to the search bar and proceed to search for numeric UI. This mod does exactly what the name suggests, allowing precise numeric values to be displayed in your interface. Up next, you want to search for Crosshair and tick the mod called Crosshair Customization, which on top of adjusting the size and shape of your crosshair is going to allow for things like fully customizable color-coded attack confirmations. And last but not least, search for Neuter and grab the one called Neuter Ult Effects. And that's it, you should now have all 7 mods installed, and once you're ready you should open your library and proceed to launch Warhammer Vermintide 2. Now before you click play on the launcher, just as an extra precaution, I suggest opening the mod manager in the top menu, which should open a window that looks something like this. And assuming all of them are white, or more specifically none of them are red, and all of them are ticked, then you should be ready to go. But just in case, make sure the Vermintide mod framework is in the top, then the Penlight Lua libraries, followed by numeric UI, and the rest doesn't really matter.